again. We know this is what we're meant to do. So we wake up, put our feet on the floor, go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Coffee Shop Show. My name is Sondra Ray, and I am the host of the show. We are an international group that helps small businesses with education, tips, tricks, and everything in between. Hi, Peter. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thanks, Sondra. I'm actually glad because of today's topic. It's actually nice to see how everything's coming together. I think if viewers go back in the topics and they take a look at all the bits and pieces, you should be able to take a look at the history, kind of mash it all together and create like an overview. It gives you a really good idea as to some of the things that you might be doing well and some of the things that you might be missing.
For sure, for sure. Hosting and producing
At the same time.
at the same time. I'm like, wait, let me go over here. Two-way screens, two-way screens, for sure, for sure. Yes, I think that was the biggest thing for me this year when planning out the topics was to build upon each other so they weren't just sporadic topics that you could, like you said, you could go back and watch them in sequence or not. Like you could still watch a show and understand what's going on. You don't have to watch them in sequence to know what's going on. So I think you'll get more out of it if you watch it in sequence and watch the build, but it also can stand alone. So, because some people don't need the whole basics of a business plan, they might need bits and pieces, or they're year 5 like I am. Like I need the review, but I might not need in depth of each topic, or everything and anything in between. So definitely doing that. So we're going to start wrapping up the business plan itself and start talking about other things when you're starting up or reviewing or both. Today's topic is standard operating procedures, SOPs for short. This is definitely more my category than Mr. Peter. Peter is like, you go write them and I'll do them. Like that's not me. Which is good. You need to know. Is it your strong suit or do you need to use ChatGPT, other people, resources, so on and so forth. Plenty of platforms out there that will help you write these. So what are SOPs? SOPs are standard operating procedures. Basically, it's what you do to get things done. Literally. It's in its simplest form, it's what you do to get things done. And when people tell me I don't have SOPs, and I always say, yes, you do. You just don't have them written down. Or you don't have them written in the format that people say SOPs for. because you get things done. Marlon gets his marketing company going, his app company, Mr. L, his coaching, his radio stuff. They get things done. It doesn't get done magically. There's a process. Even Peter gets things done. It might be who do I hand things off to or delegate, which is part of SOP. But there's still things that Peter has to do for the business, and he does them in a particular way. And he gets things done. And like I said, it might be that you're delegating, which is fine. But it's still a process. There's still a process of who needs to get what and what they need to get. So SOPs are extremely important because two reasons. One, it makes your business easier. And the fact that if something happened or when you get to hire people in, you can easily go, this is how we do things. Or if something something happened and you had to take a step back and somebody had to come in and run your business for you, or your business partner or a staff or whatever, they can easily look at the SOPs and go, okay, this is how we do things. I have a client that earned a vacation. He's on vacation all week. So I have to run things and I know it needs to be run because we have standard operating procedures. So they are important. It's not just about whether you're going to hire help or bring somebody in as a subcontractor. It helps you get things done easier if you know what you need to get done and how you're going to do it. That's definitely an important one. So SOPs can be everything from how you do your social media, who creates it, who posts it, who engages with it, what's the marketing behind it. SOPs for marketing, where are you going to market? How are you going to market? When are you going to market? SOPs for admin things, when are you going to pay the bills? Who's paying the bills? How are they paying the bills? Who's tracking the numbers? Is it bookkeeper? Is it you? Is it an Excel sheet? Are you running numbers, once a month, twice a month, once a quarter? Please don't say once a quarter. As Susan taught us a couple of weeks ago, it's important to keep those numbers in front of you. All the way up to, how are you going to take a vacation? If you're going to take time off and you have people running your business, how does that look? What are they responsible for? Who is responsible for it? Also, how you onboard clients, how you offboard clients, how you do client work. You can do a standard operating process for every single thing in your business down to the minute detail. I don't think you need that minute, depending on your business. Honestly, it depends on your business. I do think some general ones are, your marketing, how you're doing marketing, how are you taking care of clients, onboarding, offboarding, and while they're with you. If you're selling a product, how does that look, from client, getting a client all the way through the client receiving the product and afterwards. So there's definitely tons of different types of standard operating procedures. So don't get bogged down on how many you need to do. Start with the basics. Like, what do you do day to day? This is what actually the biggest tip I can give. When you say you don't have SOPs or you're not 100% sure, write down what you do in detail for 3 to 5 days, 3 to 5 business days. Let me put it that way. Will show you a lot. One, it'll show you how you're doing things. 2, it'll show you what you're not getting done. 3, you can take a lot of that and turn it into SOP. So, I check, Facebook DMs, then Instagram DMs, then I go post, then I follow up on emails, then I do client work. I mean, then you can see like what kind of SOPs do I need? Do I need a social media SOP? Do I need marketing? Do I need client? What kind of SOPs I need by what you're doing and by what you're not doing. So what is not getting done and how should it be getting done and what does that look like? So that when you're streamlining things, you can also be like, okay, if I do this, it's going to affect this and this because the processes cross over, which is going to happen in a good way. So it's really important to know how you do things and slow down and do it. I think is the other thing, and I'm so guilty of not slowing down and being like, okay, this is how I do things. I'm bringing on a subcontractor, and I've been writing out some things over the weekend of like, okay, these are the areas I need help with, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, do I have SOPs to give them, or do I, need to go write those? Do I need to go record things? Because SOPs can be written and they also can be video because we have different learning styles. So some people need to visually see what you're doing. Some people can just read it and be like, okay, I understand. If it's somebody new that doesn't know systems or your systems, I think videos are awesome. I like videos because I like to be able to see what's going on. I can read it. That's fine, but I do like video examples. To me, I like being able to see how the system works in front of me right there and then versus going in there and going, okay, I did this. This is what it's supposed to do. Wait, it didn't do that. Like, how did that not work? So SOPs can be written or video or audio. Like Peter's instance, he doesn't care to write things out, or people can't read what he wrote out. So he can be in the voice recorder going, I sent Somerville this, then it needs to go this, then it needs to go that, and then Nastine needs to review it. Then I need to, that's fine. A voice recording is fine. One, you can transcribe it into a written document, super easy nowadays. Two, or you can hand it off to an assistant and be like, here's my voice recording, turn this into SOP. Like there's so many different ways you can do SOPs nowadays that is not just the boring, write it down, da 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 da. And what I find is when people start doing SOPs, at least in my experience, they're like, oh, wait a minute, I need to go SOP over here, SOP over here. And the next thing I know, I'm like, go do one, and they come back with 5 because they're like, oh, this was so easy. Let me go do that. I always laugh because I'm just like, yeah, they're not hard. I think it's one of those terms that people get afraid of because it sounds so technical when it's really just a process, literally the process of doing things. So those are just some things about SOPs. Definitely, you definitely need them. Even if you're not going to hire people, this is not really about hiring people. It's about how are you doing your business is basically what an SOP is about. Peter, come on in. I know, like I said, I definitely think you would do SOPs a little bit differently than some people, but that's not a bad way. That's not bad. That's good to have different options. Thoughts?
Yeah. I think let me take it back to the beginning. We are all incredibly and wonderfully made. We are all unique and very different human beings. Myself and Lesetja are very different. Myself and Mollen are different. Mollen and Lesetja are different from each other. We all are very different. And when we build something, we build things in different ways. So maybe the way that Lesetja does it would maybe not be the way that I do it. We might have the same result, but we would do things very differently. And I think SOPs need to be a reflection of exactly who we are within our space and how we want things to be done in our space. Because when you're building something, you need to have a certain level of control. This is how I want things done in my space because this is how it works for me. Once you have it documented, this is how we do things. It's very easy to share. It's very easy to have somebody step into the process because you can see at what point in the process did they step in, what is required for them to do. They can see it, you can see it. There's a level of, there's no miscommunication. Everything is clear, everything has direction. They know what you require, you know what's required of them. It makes life a lot easier. And if we take a look at solopreneurs, those start something, sell it, build something, sell it, buy something, sell it, that entrepreneurial mindset, that drive. If we look at those people and we tell them, oh, by the way, if you have your SOPs in place, your space is more valuable. It literally becomes more valuable because when you are building something, if you are trying to sell it, it's like trying to sell a car to a 2-year-old and go, but it runs. They can't drive it. They cannot drive the car. When you are building something, it's almost like you're building out the manual on how it has worked in the past, how you predict it's going to be working in the future, and if somebody else is buying it, what they would need to be doing to make it consistently continue. Over a period of time, they would take those SOPs and they would modify it to suit themselves, but they know exactly what they're buying, how it works, what to do, who does what. All the processes are fully understood. Everybody knows what they're required to do, and peace of mind. I think it's just very important to have it in place. Over and
So
out.
true. So true, Peter. Um, and like I've said before, nobody's going to do anything exactly 1,000% like you because they're not you. So an SOP is a good second option because they're like, again, they're going to still put their a little bit of their spin on it, but if it's written out in a way that they can follow it easily and still get the same or close to as possible outcome that you want, then it's a good SOP. Um, having whoever's doing your processes, whether it's subcontractor staff, um, an actual employee, get their input and say, hey, is this working? Does this make sense? Does this too hard to understand? Is this outdated? Like maybe you made the SOP 5 years ago and you're doing, I don't know, a system that you used 5 years ago that's been updated or obsoleted, and you definitely need to do SOP, which is why you review. Yes, those quarterly pesky reviews that I talk about every show. This is a good time to review them quarterly to make sure they still make sense, still are relevant, still are um, now. Yeah, they're for now, not for 5 years ago, 3 years ago, last year, for that matter. That, like we said, if you choose to sell it, could somebody come in and truly understand what's going on? I love that. I love that, Peter. Mr. L, come on in the conversation.
All right. Thanks, Sondra, and it's great to see Mr. Levy and Marlon. Hello there. Look, I think there's something that we shouldn't miss as business owners or as entrepreneurs, and that is SOPs are not just something that you write down because it's a requirement. SOPs are there to help you, to guide you in your business. So you don't just go out there and write a few points and say, these are my SOPs, and you find they are not even relating to the type of business you're running. Your SOPs are not effective in your organization, or you go out and copy another company's or organization's SOPs and try and apply them to yourself. They will not work because they are not personalized to you. They will not be effective to your organization. So the best thing is you got to know what you want to achieve in your business. If you don't know what you want to achieve, then don't even bother writing them down because you are just going to derail yourself. Know what you want to achieve, and when you write them down, they've got to be aligned to what you want to achieve. If you want to just do coaching, your SOPs should be related to coaching and not to selling, because those are two different fields. So I just wanted to bring in this point that SOPs are there. They will help you to be able to be successful in organization, but they have to be effective and they've got to be aligned to what you want to achieve in your business. Thank you, Sondra. And this is Lesetja Mokou from Litmok, your business development specialist.
I love that. I love that, Mr. L. Yes, they're not going to be the same across the board for sure. Even if you have similar types. So, I coach and Mr. Levy coaches, but we coach in one, very different circles, two, in very different ways. Three, we're not the same. We're not the same people. We're not the same. We don't have the same style. So yes, just borrowing other people's is not going to get you exactly what you want. Templates are fine. You can do templates and get templates. Preferably try to get templates that are, coaching SOP templates versus, radio producer templates. Like those are not going to be the same in any way, shape, or form. So templates are a good idea. I'm not against templates because it gives you a starting point. It is not the end all point because your business is unique to you. Yeah, because I coach and I do workshops and I do speaking. So that's not what not all coaches do that, you know, so you definitely have to tailor it to you. And don't do them just, don't do them just because somebody told you to do them. Do them because they have value. You see the value in it. Speaking of values, make sure your SOPs align with your values and your mission of your business. If you don't do X in your business and then you put it in your SOP, they don't align. Like, I can't think of a really good example at the top of my head, but there's some things I don't do in my business that other people do in their business, which is fine. Each their own, that's fine. I wouldn't put that in my business. I wouldn't be like, I do cold marketing. I do cold calls. I don't do cold calls in my business. In any of my businesses or any of my, or for even my clients, it's not something that my values line with. They're great for other people and that's fine. And it's a technique and I get that. But for me, that is not something I do. I don't do it for my own business. I don't do it for my clients' businesses. And I'm probably the only thing I'm very upfront, firm. I do not do. I don't do cold calls. If that is part of your business, that's great. That is not something I will do. You can go find somebody else to do that. I've had clients do that and that's fine. But I don't do it in my own business and I will not do it for other clients. That aligns with my values of me and my business. But yeah, again, it's a common technique. It's not something that I'm going to say, don't go do. It's just because I don't do it. That doesn't mean that you don't do it. You have to figure out what aligns with your mission, what your goals are, and your values. I love that, Mr. L. Very, very relevant because SOPs are not buy a book of SOPs off the shelf and go, okay, I have SOPs. You can do that. There's companies that sell you SOPs, don't get me wrong. You still gotta tweak them to your business, even if you want to buy them off the shelf. Okay, how is it relevant to you? How is it relevant to your business? How is it relevant to what you're doing? I like my method better. Write things down for 5 days and start there versus going and paying somebody for some SOPs. But that's just my opinion on that for sure. And we each have our own opinion on SOPs for sure. I'm going to go to Mr. Levy. Yep. Okay. Mr. Levy. Hi.
Good evening. Mr. Hingston his hand was up before mine.
Nope. You are next. He's over here telling me that.
Thank you, Pete.
Love to hear your perspective on SOPs.
Yeah, I think SOPs, just in my experience, I see it's people shy away from them because of exactly what you were speaking about, Lesetja, Peter. They feel that it's a standard operating procedure, it's like a template, a book that exists, and they kind of shy away from it. And after, throw it out the window, because when you set up your SOPs, it makes you you should be looking into your business and getting more insight into your business. And entrepreneurs often know what they want to do. They know where they want to get to, but they don't, if they had to step out of their business, who can step in and take that role, either their role or anybody in the business. So I think part of that is having clearly all these components of why your business exists is extremely important. It makes you start drilling down to why you do it, what you do, and then how you do it, and what guides that. And that comes back to your values. And how does everything then align to this core or the DNA of your business? And that's important. Because then it really is unique to you, and you're also assured that anybody's coming into that business or anybody inside the business is operating within a framework that is not negotiable within that business. Okay? How they do it inside that framework could be a bit flexible. It allows room for flexibility, but there are certain negotiables, but it takes a bit of work to get to that point. But I think it's a great exercise for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders in corporate to do, because it makes you look internally, not in yourself, in your business, and then within each department. As you correctly said, Sondra, it's, tell me what the outcome is. Be very clear what we're trying to achieve and how do I contribute to that. And if I am in charge of that division, then you need to trust and let me put in those SOPs that contribute to whatever we're trying to achieve. And something that comes in there that I see is not, you don't find it clearly defined in a lot of companies, is roles and responsibilities, because it becomes a bit of a task, but it shouldn't be. It's a very strong component of those things that we mentioned. It's as important and as strong as why your business exists, your mission, or your vision, your values. And I've seen a company that I've worked with who used their values as standard KPIs for their employees. It was actually quite amazing how they measured them, because if they all aligned and they all rated highly on those values, they were kind of sure that they were doing things the way that the business wanted them to do it. That's outside of their skill set. They employed them because I would imagine, of their skill set. So that ticked the box. But you can have a great skill set and not align to how the business or the DNA of the business. It could be a disaster. So yeah, I think it's probably just expanding on a bit more of what Lesetja said, is forget the templates and so on. Just look into your own. It's a requirement to look into your own business. You should be.
I love that. I love that. Thank you, Mr. Levy. Yes, and I like that what you said, the different departments. I know you work with a lot of leadership. Their input is just as valuable as your input, because they're doing the work for you. They're representing you as a business owner. So if you're not letting your subcontractors, employees, or whoever's helping you run your business give input, then it's not going to, you're not going to have the outcome that you want, because people aren't as invested. It also helps invest, like, hey, this is what we do. This is how we do it. Do you align with this? Do you want to do this? I like that as a job description, roles and responsibilities. Yes, SOPs definitely play a part. I know the client I'm onboarding right now, I asked for his SOPs. I said, how do you do things? I want to know if I can really help you. That is definitely something, even as a coach, I don't learn everybody's businesses. I ask, what are your processes? How are you doing things? What is missing? What do you need to get done? Because I don't need to know, you need to know. I just need to know, how can I support you, and how can I either help you streamline, or how can I get you the resources, or how can I hold you accountable? Because that's what my coaching style is. Because everybody's like, oh, what particular industry you work with? And I'm like, it's really not about the industry. It's about somebody that's coachable, somebody that's willing to work with me and tweak things as they go. It's more about that than it is anything. I also do a system and process audit. It's a very basic one. I don't go deep into details, but I do offer that service, because a lot of people get systems, and we're going to talk about systems more next week, because somebody told them to. Same thing with processes. Somebody told me to get a process for, I don't know, bookkeeping, and I'm not a bookkeeper, so I just copied somebody's process off of ChatGPT. Don't get me wrong, but I just said, give me a process for coaching business off of ChatGPT. It's a good starting point. That should not be your process, unless it truly, highly doubt it's going to truly dig in. So definitely extremely important to have people's input that are working with you, from employees to subcontractors to your coach. If you're working with a coach in any type of way, they should know how you're doing things. I feel as a coach that they should know how you're doing things if they're doing anything in your business. I have a mentor and I have a coach, and both of them, I make sure they understand what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. It's just going to make the coaching better. And that's another way that SOPs can come into a good play. So for sure. Peter, come on.
Yeah, I think maybe let's take it to a bit of an extreme. We are entrepreneurs. We're building our businesses. We're doing it from the safety of behind our laptops. If something goes slightly wrong, it's not the end of the world. We get to fix it. We get to modify it. We get to change it. We get to move on. Something doesn't work. We just repair it. But what about in a space where there is no repairing it? Take a look at the oil and gas industry. Standard operating procedures. You have an oil rig in the middle of the ocean. They are drilling for oil. And you have many different systems all creating one rig, from electrical, mechanical, you name it, it's all in there. And each one of those spaces will have engineers that are responsible for different roles, and then that will come with maintenance. And there's standard operating procedures for maintenance, and you have to stick within those procedures, because if you don't, you will kill someone. Quite literally, you will kill them. Standard operating procedure, you want to decommission something, so you need to turn certain breakers off. You need to know, if I turn these breakers off, am I only turning off what I'm decommissioning? Am I turning off something else? I need to understand my environment. I need to acquire a certificate and a time and a place that everybody knows that I'm turning this thing off. Maybe you need to install a new system, but if you do not follow the process and you turn something off and then you're done and you're like, oh, I'm just going to switch it back on. So you don't follow the standard operating procedures, you will kill yourself and many others. In an environment like that, standard operating procedure is heavy. It's heavy. You are expected. You will follow this process. You will get your certificate. You will do it the right way. You will. And then not only that, if you're putting in a new system, you're then also at the same time creating new standard operating procedures so that when the next person comes along, they know exactly what you've done, how you've done it, how it works, what they are required to do afterwards. If they have to do the same thing in 3 years' time, they know what you did, when you did it, how you did it, what you replaced. You don't just go, oh, look, a broken part, I'm just going to switch off and replace it. No. You're creating the deaths of multiple people all at one time. That is how important standard operating procedure is. In an environment where it is where lives are on the line, it is so important because it saves you, it keeps you safe. To the point where if something goes wrong, the higher ups are like, was standard operating procedure followed? What went wrong? What led to this? And they can literally break it apart and tell you at this very particular point in time, this process was not followed. These were the results. It is so important. And then we sit at home from the safety of our PCs and we go like, yeah, do we even really need them? The answer is yes, you do. Because if you don't put them in place, you're literally just creating the destruction of your own space. Your space then ends with you. If you want to keep standard operating procedures in your head, you're the only one that knows it. You want to build your space. Well, who's following you? How are they following you? Who are you leading? How are you leading them? Do they know what they need to do? The answer is they've got no clue. And they cannot read what's in your brain. So if you want to build something that doesn't just end with you, then step into these spaces and explore creating those standard operating procedures and learn in the process, because often we think we've got things waxed and then we start creating our standard operating procedures and then we're like, hold on a second, there's like 2 steps in here that are unnecessary. Why are we doing this? We actually hey team, do we need to do this? No, we haven't done that for the last 6 months. No. Take it out of the standard operating procedure. Streamline it. We've learned something. Hey, look, we're trying to achieve this, but something's not quite working. Oh, there's a part of the process that is missing. This part is not getting done. If we just do that part, everything else will work. Add it to the standard operating procedures. Oh, look, we've learned something. We've saved the day. So I think it's more important than what we give it credit for. And we need to start looking at these things. And at the same time, the more you modify it and the more it's customized and the more it's changed and the more it evolves, it becomes it's like a living document that constantly changes with the growth of your space. It almost becomes that, like Mr. Levy said, that framework that everybody can function within. You've created a safe space that is customized to work the way that it needs to work. You cannot take that framework and put it somewhere else and think, oh, it's just gonna work. It's not gonna happen. Different people, different space, can't do it. If you think you don't have standard operating procedures and you need them and you're much like me, please don't sit down with a pen and a piece of paper and think that you're going to write them out. Because I can't do that. But can I have a conversation with somebody where they ask me, well, what does your day look like? How do you start your day? What do you do first? Oh, why do you do it first? What do you do next? Have those conversations. And that person, by the end of the conversation, will be like, well, your standard operating process is you start with this, in this particular order, and that's how it functions. It's not rocket science. I personally would go and sit with Sondra and be like, okay, so I need standard operating procedures for this. Okay, what does it look like? Who's involved in the process? And what do you need done first? How does it work? By the end of the conversation, there's documented SOPs. But do you think I can sit down and create my own? No, my business doesn't work that way. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. But that's beside the point. Have some fun with it. Learn something in the process. If you're not learning something from it, don't bother. It was a waste of time. Peace.
Definitely good points, Peter. Yes, definitely certain industries, a lot of industries, SOPs are for the safety of themselves and others. My husband does IT for hospitals, so there are processes out the and then I'm in the US, so that's a whole different situation of processes being pushed and examined and reviewed and who gets to make processes and so on and so forth that affect a million people, not thousands, but millions. Anyways, so definitely you knowing what the process is for your role or your business is extremely important, because if somebody comes and challenges you, or upline or somebody outside your business comes and challenges that, you have something written down and say, no, this is what I've been doing. This is how it works. I'm not going to say legal because I don't know how well legally that works, but I do know in what's going on currently in the US that that's been the pushback, is we have SOPs for this. We're not going to do X, Y, and Z just because you said to do X, Y, and Z. I'm not a political person, so I'm not going to get fully into that, but it actually came into play 2 weeks ago when the situation started, very publicly. And it was like, okay, what are the actual business's SOP? And that's what I told my husband. I said, what is your boss in front of you telling you what your SOP is? And then what's his boss telling? And then up the chain of command how does this actually affect? It was hard because he's like, I always follow directions. So he wanted to follow directions from somebody outside of the organization telling them what to do. And it was what the organization has to decide what they're going to do with it. And they made a decision, and it got worked out. But right now, definitely in today's environment, knowing your SOPs and how you do something gives you something to stand on when you're pushed against, whether it's politically, by a client, by a bad Google review. I mean, like, things happen. Negativity is going to happen. And if you have something to stand on and be like, nope, this is how I did it, this is my written process, then at the end of the day, I think you're going to feel better, and you're going to be like, nope, this is how I do it. This is how I've done it for X amount of years. Do I need to tweak it? Probably or maybe not. Maybe it's solid. Maybe you are tweaking it every quarter, and you don't, it's foundational. You don't have to rhyme or reason it. You can be like, this is how I've done it. This is what the outcome is. I work in the financial world with a client and as an agent. Having your SOPs and knowing what your role is in that environment is so extremely important, because you're dealing with people's finances and livelihood. So same thing, like I said, my husband works for a hospital. You're dealing with, people's people's lives. So whether you're a small business owner or you're a business owner that works with entities that truly affect people like that, it's all important. Whether you're the small fly on the wall or you're the big fish in the sea, SOPs still matter. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Yes, talking them out with people, I think, is way easier than trying to sit down and write an SOP, to be honest, or asking for prompts from somebody. Like answering questions, I find is actually an easier way for people to do SOPs. I'll give them 10 questions. They give it back to me, finesse it. This is what this means. Go back and forth a couple of times. And yeah, you have an SOP usually within a week, week and a half, depending on how fast things go back and forth. They're not hard, is what I'm saying. Don't make them hard. Don't make them complicated. They don't have to be complicated, especially for us, our audience who are small business owners. They don't need to be these long, drawn out oil rig SOP because you're not building an oil rig for the most part. Hendrik's not here, so he's not building buildings. But in his space, his SOPs have to be detailed. He's building structures. He's doing construction. That looks way different than me as a coach, 1,000%. And yes, his have to be built on the basis of what he's trying to accomplish, and his ethics. I know his ethics and values play a huge role in his business, because he said it many, many times. So even as a construction person, that still applies. Like he very much is big on his values and ethics as a business owner, and as a company. So yeah, his SOPs matter just as much as coaching. Again, I'm coaching people. I'm asking them what they do, somewhat telling them what to do. So I need to understand how they do things to be able to coach them well. That's what I like about coaching myself, because I don't, yeah, I like individual coaching because then I get to know the person and their personality and how they do things and what they do and why they do them, versus huge groups of coaching. But Lesetja, come on in, and then we're going to start wrapping up.
All right. I just wanted to jump on to Peter's example of the oil rigs and just bring it home by saying, in any organization where you have departments, each department will have its own SOPs. You know, the accounting department, or debtors department, wherever, will know what to do when money comes in or when money has to go out. That is their SOP. Sales department, we've got our own SOP. So each department will have its own, but then there is a linking standard operating procedures for all the departments. Then there is, this how we run the company. Each department will have its own, and the organization as a whole, holistically, will have its own, will have SOPs as well. And I think as I was thinking about these examples, Peter, the mining industry, the hard stuff, the hard work, I was just thinking, but when you drive, there's an SOP there. You don't just get into the car and push the gear. There are things that you do before you even start pushing the gear. When you cook, there's a standard procedure that you follow. So I think SOPs are everywhere. We just need to be aware of them. But then for the organization, for the company, they've got to be noted down, and people have got to be trained. Because if you don't train me on how to fix, is it an oil rig, Peter? If you don't train me on how to fix it, if you don't train me on how to switch off an electricity plug, if I have to fix the wires, I'm going to be bombed out. So people in the organization have got to be trained, just like we train kids at home when they have to start cooking. Just like when you go get your license, you get trained on how to drive. So SOPs extremely important, and I think they are everywhere in life, but for the company, extremely, extremely important. Thank you so much, Sondra.
Thank you, Mr. Al. I 1,000% agree. I have adult children, and one of the things we did work on was not only driving, but yes, cooking. There was a year where they all took turns planning a meal, shopping for a meal, cooking the meal, serving it. I've seen clients in the past. I have clients who all they do is teach cooking, or all they do is teach how to set a table, how to do a proper dinner party, things like that. So yeah, SOPs are everywhere. We have one for the show. I know how I start the show. I know how I end the show. I know what my role is. I know what Peter's role is. I know what Susan's role is, Somerville's role. So pretty much you have a process for everything, which means that you can write processes for your business. I think that's kind of where I want to tie that in, is that it's not that complicated. Please don't make it that complicated. Hit me up if you have issues, if you think it's complicated. Susan, our amazing Susan, does our show notes, and she puts our links in the show notes. Schedule a call with me or with Mr. Levy or any of us on the show. We want to help you. That is the purpose of the show, is to help small business and entrepreneurs grow. It's really that simple. That's the outcome we want. That's why we do the show. That's what we want you to get out of the show. So, and of course, we encourage feedback. So if you think you have feedback to give, positive or negative, that's great too, because that's part of the process, is to take feedback and apply it and see where it needs to apply. So big shout out to Susan, who does do our show notes, our covers, and she turns it into a podcast on Spotify. So find us on Spotify. Make sure you're sharing, liking the show. The more you share, the more people in the world get to learn this information, because we are an international community. None of us are in the same town, I don't think, that close. I'm on the opposite side of the world of all three of the gentlemen. So we're international based for a reason, because we want to reflect that in our show. 100%. So Sondra, owner of Gang Coaching, and I help you create SOPs, systems, action plans, and goals. I do have a workshop for reviewing all of that on March 20th. The link will be in the show notes, because Susan is amazing and she does that. And of course, we want to thank Somerville, who helps keep things on the back end straight for not only Peter, but for Explore Pro Tech as a whole. So, Mr. Peter, we want to take us out?
Awesome. Yeah, I think this has been another great show. I think for those that have been watching this show, do yourself a favor and go a couple of topics backwards. It all does link together and create a bit of a journey. So go and take a look at that. And for all you seasoned entrepreneurs out there that have the ability to go back in the topics, go pick a topic that you battle with. There will be a panel discussion on exactly that. Go have fun with it, pick it apart, and if you have questions, well, reach out. Our details will be at the bottom of the show. Yeah, so without further ado, may all your wildest entrepreneurial dreams come true.